Hey, what is going on, my specialist SPC here, and welcome back to the channel for the final video of 2021. So guys, I want to start off this video real quick by saying I hope you guys did have a good 2021. If you didn't, I'm sorry that happened to you. Hopefully next year is good for you. So, I figured let's end 2021 with two separate videos. First, I wanted to do this one. I wanted to rank the 21 first-time watches that I watched this year. If you guys didn't know, if you guys are new to the channel, first of all, welcome. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Second of all, I'm going to put a link up above here. I actually ranked the 20 first-time watches I watched last year for 2020. Obviously, I had a lot of unpopular opinions in that. You guys will come to see that in this video as well. And also, tomorrow I'm going to be ranking all of the 2021 films that I have seen from my least favorite to my favorite. So hope you guys stay tuned for that as well. Obviously, you guys, this is just my list. And these are just the films that I've watched. If there's a film that you guys really like that's lower on the list, we just have different tastes. It's completely okay. So, let's just get right into it. Coming in, number 21, my least favorite first-time watch out of all of these 21 films was the 1998 Psycho Remake. Why does this film even exist? It's literally just beat for beat of the original film. Literally the same dialogue, the same shots, the same music. Everything is just the same, except it takes place in 1998. There's literally only one word that changes. Instead of let me get my purse, it's let me get my Walkman. I digress. But this is just one of those films where I really don't even see why. I know Gus Van Sant said that this was like a passion project for him. He wanted to see if he could remake the original Psycho film, which, once again, you guys can see it in my video because I actually ranked that film last year. Yes, I just watched Psycho for the first time last year and I fell absolutely in love with it. But there isn't really much to say about this. This film is just kind of meh. I give it a lot of credit for at least telling the same story that the original Psycho did. And William H. Macy as Arbogast is really the only good casting in this at all. Vince Vaughn is a terrible Norman Bates. Viggo Mortensen as Sam Loomis was just cringeworthy. And the girl who actually plays Marion Crane she's just not good. She does not fit the role. She does not look anything like a final girl. Even though obviously if you guys know the story of Psycho, you guys know what happens to her regardless. But this is just one of those films that I will watch it again, but it's not one I'm going to be in a hurry to get to. So Psycho 1998 comes in at number 21. Coming in at number 20 is going to be 28 Days Later. Now, guys, I love zombie films. It's seriously probably my third favorite subgenre in horror. And this is a film that a lot of people like to claim is the best of the best when it comes to zombie films. I'm not one of them. I really did not enjoy this at all. I did like the zombies. I liked some elements of it. I liked the tension. I liked the suspense. But the characters, the dialogue, and honestly just the way this film looked was just, I did not enjoy it at all. I didn't like the graininess of the film. I really didn't think that Cillian Murphy actually fits the role of this character, and I really didn't think his acting was really all that great. I didn't enjoy anybody else. The main girl, I can't remember what her name is, that she is with him throughout most of the film. She is unbearable. I hate everything she says. I hate everything she does. All her decisions are just absolutely rage-filled. But I can say, like I said, it does have good tension. It does have good zombies, but it's honestly a film that, honestly, I will probably never watch again. I didn't enjoy it enough to put it any higher, so it sits here at number 20. Number 19, the film I'm probably the most mixed on because it is from one of my favorite directors of all time. And it's a film a lot of people like to claim is his greatest masterpiece to begin with. I didn't think so. And at number 19 is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I didn't like this all that much. I love the directing of Stanley Kubrick. It's absolutely incredible, as always. The visuals are stunning, but the story just isn't really too interesting to me. I like everything that happens with Hal and the two guys. That whole story is good. But I don't like anything with the company that's in here. I just really think the big black spire thing, I don't even know what it's called. I haven't watched this literally since the beginning of the year, so I don't really remember a whole lot, so I apologize. But this is just one of those films, it's just too long. The story's not very grasping to me. It's visually stunning, the music is great. Although at times it's so quiet and then the music swells up and it just completely blows out your ears. So, another film I probably will never watch again, and I'm sorry to say, Stanley, this is a very mixed film of yours that I didn't really enjoy. So, 2001: A Space Odyssey comes in at number 19. Number 18 is The Boondock Saints. This was another great first-time watch. My cousin actually suggested that I watch this because he think I would like it. And I did enjoy a lot of things about it. I liked the action. The humor in it was great. Norman Reedus was awesome. Patrick Flannery was pretty enjoyable. Willem Dafoe steals the show just like he does in so many other films. And man, I just gotta say, while all that is good, I didn't really like the pacing. The pacing seemed just kind of rushed at times, and then it just slows down to a slug's speed. Again, another film I will probably watch again at some point. I really didn't think it was this great masterpiece, but overall, it's an enjoyable enough film. Just again, another one I won't be in a rush to go see. You're going to probably hear that a few more times in this ranking. But Boondock Saints comes in at number 19. Now guys, this next film and a couple other films on here are going to be some of the Universal monster movies. I don't want to spoil it, but I might as well just give you guys a heads up. Because in my previous ranking I did last year, I watched The Wolfman for the first time, so he's not on here. You guys can see where that landed in that other video after you're done with this one. But the monster who comes in here at number 18 was my least favorite of all of them, and that was Dracula. Now, Bela Lugosi is a great Dracula. This is a film I own now. I will watch it again. I did like the cinematography, the music, all that stuff was great. But this film is just so incredibly slow. It starts off with this creepy vibe. The character of Renfield, honestly, is the best character in this film, the best acted character. He honestly scared me so much more and made me so much more tense and unnerved than Bela Lugosi's Dracula did. And again, it's overall a very good film. It's well directed, but honestly, for me, it's just the weakest because the story for me just wasn't all that enjoyable. It's a lot of things I already knew about Dracula to begin with. But he still does sit comfortably here at number 17. Number 16 is 1979's Amityville Horror. Now, I can willingly say that the 2005 remake is honestly one of my guilty pleasure horror movies. It's a very underrated remake. But I had to see the one that started it all. And man, I have got to tell you, this film was tense, it was creepy, it was atmospheric. It actually made me tense up. I actually felt for all of these characters. It literally felt like I was almost there. You have the late, great Margot Kidder in here, who, of course, she was from the original Black Christmas, is what I know her best from. And she plays a very sympathetic character. You really feel for her, starting to worry about her husband because he's slowly becoming unhinged after these 28 days of being in this house, not really believing anything that's going on. The slow burn getting to that final day of them leaving the Amityville house, which of course is one of the most haunted places in the world. Ed and Lorraine Warren actually have been to this house before and said it is the most haunted place they have ever been to. And of course, obviously, a lot of people think this entire story is made up. They just think they couldn't handle paying the payments or whatever, but that's a whole nother story. While at times, again, it's just too slow. The dialogue just seems more like you're watching a soap opera or a play. And that's really what ruins it for me, in all honesty. But still, it still comes in here at a good and comfortable number 16. So coming in at number 15 is going to be Enter the Dragon, one of the greatest martial arts movies to ever come to screen by one of the greatest martial arts actors of all time, the late great Bruce Lee. I enjoyed it. It's a very nostalgic film. A lot of people, like I said, say it's the greatest martial arts film of all time. The thing that kills this film for me, though, is the dubbing over of Bruce Lee's voice. It is god-awful. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love this film, but it's the thing that killed this for me. I love the action. I loved everywhere we went. I loved all the moments inside of, I can't remember what it is, the dojo at the end of the main villain. It was all great, but it's really just that dubbing of the dialogue in this film that just drops it down a lot lower than I wanted it to go. So Enter the Dragon comes in at number 15. Number 14 is going to be the original Invisible Man. Man, I enjoyed this film so much. I love Claude Rains' portrayal of the Invisible Man, because this reminded me so much, and I literally mean so much, of Mark Hamill's Joker. I actually watched an interview that Mark Hamill did regarding the Joker, and it was this character, this actor, that inspired him to become the Joker and like to get the voice and everything. And it fits perfectly because this character is demented, he is messed up, and he is absolutely insane with what he does in this film. Honestly, though, at times there's just a little too much comedy. It fits with what he wants to do, just to kind of cause some mayhem and stuff. Overall, though, still a great, enjoyable Universal monster movie. Easily the most surprising one that I had, because I didn't know how they were going to do this story. And man, I gotta say, the greatest thing to say about this film is, honestly, the visuals of the Invisible Man. The way they were able to film him actually not having his face, to make him literally look like he is invisible. It is crazy how good they did it. Honestly, like I said, one of the more underrated films that I saw on here. Easily the most surprising film I've seen here on this list. And that is why he comes in at number 14. Number 13, some people might think that what I'm about to say is unpopular, but it's just my honest opinion, as I said before. Number 13 is going to be Bong Joon-ho's Memories of Murder. As some of you guys know, if you haven't, you're about to find out. I have become such a huge fan of South Korean cinema. I have loved everything I've seen. I've seen Train to Busan, The Wailing. I've seen Parasite. I've, of course, obviously seen this. And I personally think that this is Bong Joon-ho's best film that he has done. A lot of people will say Parasite. I unfortunately disagree. I like the film quite a bit, but I just feel that this one is done a lot better. I love the actual mystery of not knowing who the killer is throughout this film. Song Kang-ho, one of the greatest Korean actors out there, does an excellent job as Detective Lee. And the other character, I can't remember what his name is, he does really good as slowly throughout the course of the film he becomes unhinged. He wants to know who the killer is. He wants to find this guy. The thing that just kills this, though, is it's 2.5 hours long. It's not that it's bad, that it's a longer film. I don't entirely mind it, but there's just times where there's 10 to 15 minutes of dialogue that has really not a whole lot to do. Probably the best sequence, though, in this film is you get to see one of the victims actually be stalked and actually be taken. And it's just, the way it's filmed, The darkness and the rain, the cinematography, everything there is just cringeworthy. In a good way, though, so don't take it the wrong way. But I do believe that this is Bong Joon-ho's absolute masterpiece. Again, I know I only gave it 4 stars. There's just some problems. Maybe after a few rewatches, it won't bother me so much. But Memories of Murder come in at number 13. Coming in at number 12 is going to be the 2012 Dread remake. Man, this film was just so badass. I loved it. Obviously, again, a few problems. Not perfect film, but Carl Urban's portrayal of Dread was just so absolutely brutal. The things that happen in this film when they get to the actual, I don't know what you want to call it, it's just this huge building. I know I'm not really being very descriptive, but only seen the film once, so I apologize. But everything that happens in there from beginning to end, it just is so action-packed. But the thing that really kills this film, literally drops it an entire star for me, is there are so many moments, there is slow motion. You don't need slow motion. I'm sure they wanted to extend the film to get it to where they needed to for the right runtime. But this film easily could have been cut back at least another 15 to 20 minutes with just cutting out the slow-mos. Not a bad film. Just get rid of those, and it'd be a better, probably more classic action film. So, Dread comes in at number 12. Number 11, in another subgenre of horror that I absolutely love, is found footage. Number 11 is going to be the original Cloverfield. I can't believe I waited this long to watch this film. I loved the entire sequences with the monster. I like how they actually build up the characters. We actually get to know their backstories, get to know what is going on in their lives. And then, of course, when the creature shows up, they run around the city, all the chaos ensues. It is a great found footage horror movie. But my biggest problem with this film, though, was the guy behind the camera. He was too comedic. Every single sequence that was supposed to be tense and horror-filled was ruined by his terrible jokes and his overuse of comedy. I don't know why they took that direction. If it had just been him more scared, maybe an occasional joke here and there, it would have worked out a lot better. But it just didn't land for me when he made all these really terrible jokes. So, again, unfortunately, it drops it down an entire star, but still a great found footage horror movie. So Cloverfield takes the number 11 spot. Here we go, guys. Top 10. Again, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys get down below in the comments section. Give me your guys' 21 first-time watches, and make sure they are ranked from your least favorite to your favorite. Or just tell me what your favorite has been. Again, we are going to disagree. It happens. It's just part of who we are. Nobody here is perfect. Everybody has different tastes in films. Here we go, guys. Getting into the top 10, we have Robocop. This is a film I've honestly never wanted to watch. I always thought it was just trying to be this Terminator knockoff, and it was just never going to live up to the standards of Terminator. But man, oh man, was I wrong. This first film is brutal. I did not expect it to be so violent like it was. I seriously thought this was like a PG movie, and it was just meant more for kids to be able to watch, so they could almost watch a version of Terminator. But man, Robocop was a great character. I like the character of Alex Murphy. It's sad that they had to recast the character in the third film, because the third film, I will still say, is easily the worst in the franchise. I watched all 4 films. But, man, great cast, too. You got Kurtwood Smith from That 70s Show. Of course, you know him as Red Foreman. He's the main villain in here. Absolutely awesome. But, man, again, this is just another one of those films where occasionally the dialogue is just terrible. Occasional joke here and there, even when they're constantly ridiculing Alex Murphy after he's been completely dismembered. They put him back together and everything. Just the way they treat him. I didn't really like that. I understand it's part of the character arc of him trying to still be human, but also still be Robocop. It's still just an overall violent, great film. Just some dialogue problems, but Robocop comes in at number 10. Number 9, Joel Schumacher's The Lost Boys. Another, honestly, surprising film for me. I really didn't think this film was going to be as dark as it was. Just like a lot of these other films, you're going to hear it a few more times here in the rest of the ranking, but great cinematography, great atmosphere, a great cast again in this film. But this film, honestly, was great until the end. The end, honestly, kind of just was so out of nowhere. They beat the vampires, and then the grandpa just makes some dead-end joke, and it just ends. You don't get no amazing victory. You don't get them celebrating. You don't get them going out into the world and telling anybody anything. That was easily the most disappointing part about this entire film. And honestly, at times, the two brothers in here were just got to be a little much with what they were saying throughout the course of the film. It just got a little annoying after a while. But still a great film as well. But The Lost Boys comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8, kind of ironically, it should have been in the next one. It would have worked out pretty well, but David Fincher's Seven. Easily what a lot of people say is one of the best cop thrillers out there. And man, this is another film that just blew me away. I couldn't believe a lot of the stuff that happened in it. You got the infamous scene of what's in the box. I'll get to that here in a moment, but the scene where you have the guy who looks like he's dead and he ends up being alive. Not gonna lie, guys. Not only did it just make me absolutely uneasy and almost kind of queasy, but really was a huge shock value that added to the film. And man, it just added to the dread you get throughout the course of this film. Once again, another great cast. You get Morgan Freeman in here, Brad Pitt, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Kevin Spacey, back before, you know, all his infamousy that he has nowadays. But I have got to say, guys, this film would have worked better if it was only 2 hours long. I believe this is like 2.5-ish hours. But if they would have just dialed that back, if they wouldn't have honestly extended that last part as well with the what's in the box, they would have just asked it once and walked forward and opened the box and saw what was in there, I'd have been okay with it. But when he's sitting there for minutes on end asking the same question of what's in the box, what's in the box, that whole scene could have been just squished and cut in half at least. And for me, it would have worked better. I know for a lot of you guys, it probably was a perfect length. For some people, this is a perfect film. It's just them few things that didn't really work for me. And honestly, again, just some dialogue just really didn't work for me overall. But 7 comes in at number 8. But taking the number 7 spot is going to be a thriller I thought was just a tad bit better. And that is 1 Hour Photo starring Robin Williams. I've never seen Robin Williams in anything else besides comedies. And man, he was so disturbing in this film. Just him wanting to be a part of this family, sitting there almost imagining him being a part of the family, trying to get close with their son, following them all around town, randomly running into them at the mall and other places they go. Robin Williams easily was the best thing about this film. But man, I know it's supposed to be part of the film, but it just was really so cringy watching him do all this that it made me almost to the point of being uncomfortable watching it. That's really the biggest thing that killed this film. Honestly, again, dropped it down by a whole nother star. But honestly, I'd probably say as of right now, this is probably my favorite Robin Williams film of all time. Not that the bar was very high for films I've seen. I've only seen films like Flubber, Mrs. Doubtfire, The World's Greatest Dad, The Angriest Man in Brooklyn. So I haven't really seen a lot of Robin Williams films besides them couple of films, but still a good film. The character was just too cringy for me. But still, 1 Hour Photo comes in at number 7. Number 6, we are here at the final 4-star rated film, easily the best of them all. And that is James Wan's Insidious. I cannot believe it took me this long to watch this film either. I've always been a fan of James Wan, at least when it comes to specific films, like the original Conjuring, the original Saw. Even his film that came out earlier this year, Malignant, I actually really enjoyed. I didn't think it was as terrible as a lot of people said it was, but you guys will see where that ranks in my upcoming stream. But, man, the biggest thing that hurts this film is it needed to be rated R. They could have done so much more with the horror. Even with this being PG-13, it's still effective. It's honestly probably one of my top 5 favorite PG-13 horror movies I've watched. Man, it's just that R rating. If it was R rated, this film would have worked out perfectly. It could have been my favorite, however you want to word it, supernatural horror film. Still a solid, good entry under James Wan's belt. Insidious takes the number 6 spot. Alright guys, here we are, the top 5. These were all 5-star films for me. These were all absolutely perfect. This was a little bit harder than the 6 through 16. But I do have my definitive ranking here. Taking the number 5 spot is I Saw the Devil, another South Korean film. This one is a cop thriller, very similar to Memories of Murder that I talked about earlier, but man, the way this film is directed, just the things that happen in here, man, it is just absolutely great. The amount of violence that's in this film really surprised me. The opening of this film literally left my jaw on the floor for minutes. Just the way the characters actually develop, even the way they descend more into madness. It's like your main good guy who is a cop is the one who descends into madness, but your villain is the one who gets more of the arc throughout the course of this film. It's almost like they switch spots. There are times you feel sorry for the killer, and you sit there and you're like, no, you deserve everything you get. But then you watch what this guy is doing to him, and you almost feel pity for this guy. This is another one of those South Korean films I highly recommend you guys watch. It is definitely worth it, and obviously, it can sit perfectly comfortable here at number 5. Alright guys, the next 2 films are the other 2 and final Universal monster movies that I watched. And it was really hard for me to put these 2 where I did, but number 4 is the original 1931 Frankenstein. Frankenstein has always been one of my favorite monsters in all of horror. This is going to sound weird. My first introduction to him was from Alvin and the Chipmunks. One of my favorite portrayals of him is Peter Boyle from Young Frankenstein. I can willingly say Young Frankenstein is one of my favorite comedies of all time, even one of my overall favorite Frankenstein movies, but man, this film was just beautiful to watch. Being able to actually see the It's Alive part for the first time live right there, it was phenomenal. The cinematography, the music, Boris Karloff as the monster. Easily the best portrayal of any of the Universal monsters. I don't care what anybody says, that's just my opinion. And this is easily one of those just perfectly classic movies that everybody should see at least once. Frankenstein takes the number 4 spot. Just very slightly above that, even though I do have one little nitpick of this, and I should have switched these around, but it's okay. This is the better film still. That is Bride of Frankenstein. This is another just beautiful film to watch. I got a lot of things that I love about Young Frankenstein. This is where it originated from. The monster actually meeting the blind man, becoming more of a human, learning how to speak, trying to actually become human almost again. And just the things that happen in here. The evil doctor, I think his name's Pretorius. I apologize if it's been a while since I've watched it, but man, I've got to say, this film is just beautiful. It's more beautiful than the original Frankenstein to watch. My only little nitpick I have with this is just the little people inside of the vials that just to me seemed a little cartoonish and to me personally didn't fit the story of the Frankenstein monster, so. But this is still another Universal monster movie that also needs to be watched at least once in your life. So Bride of Frankenstein takes the number 3 spot. Number 2. What might honestly be my favorite sports movie I have ever watched. That is Warrior, starring Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton. The dynamic between these two characters was great. The fact of these two both needing to be fighters to just build themselves back up. You have Joel Edgerton, who is this teacher. His family's starting to struggle with money, so on the nights that he doesn't work, he goes and tries to be, I guess he doesn't try to be, he is an ultimate fighter, and he is fighting all these people trying to get more money. And then, of course, you have Tom Hardy's character, who basically walked away from his family, didn't want anything to do with them. He's a drunk. He's a loser. He goes back to his father, trains with him, and ends up entering the tournament. And, of course, at the end, both of these brothers end up fighting each other. And what is honestly one of the most heart-breaking, gut-wrenching fights you'll ever watch in a movie. Just the things these brothers do to each other. They walk out at the end. They end up making up. They are fine again. It is just a great arc for both characters. A beautiful story. Lots of great ultimate fighting action. Warrior takes the number 2 spot. But my number 1 favorite first time watch that's honestly probably going to make it into my top favorite movies of all time here soon is Ready Player One. This is easily one of the most nostalgic films I've ever watched in my life. When they go into that video game world, there are some of my favorite things I've ever watched in previous movies. Jurassic Park, King Kong, Back to the Future, Star Wars, comic book movies, you name it, it is in here. And honestly, it might even be one of my favorite quote-unquote favorite video game films of all time. My all-time favorite sequence in this film is when all these characters go into the world of The Shining. Because, of course, The Shining is my favorite horror film of all time, and it is easily the best part. Going through the Overlook, going back into the Gold Room is great. The entire final sequence, the big battle, I don't even know how you want to really describe it. It's like Endgame meets Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, and they mash them together. And our main character is sitting there trying to get through the video game, trying to find the secret at the end of the game. It is just a beautiful film to watch. You have Ben Middleston, who of course played director Orson Krennic in Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. He is your villain, and this guy is so good at playing villains. This guy needs to cast more as villains, no matter what it is. I think he needs to be in a Marvel movie. But this film is great. It's from one of my favorite directors of all time, Steven Spielberg. And I cannot wait, because it is being rumored that there's supposedly another Ready Player One film called Ready Player 2 to come out soon. Fingers crossed it happens. But Ready Player One takes the number 1 spot. Alright guys, that is going to do it for this ranking. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys went down into the comment section and you guys told me what your favorite 2021 first time watch was. And again, make sure you guys stay tuned. I am going to be doing a podcast ranking all the 2021 films that I have watched. Of course, all the brand new films. And make sure you guys also, as I said plenty of times, get on up there. Go check out my 2020 first time watch ranking as well. So, with that being said, you guys, make sure you hit that like button. subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.